Welcome back to Practical Parenting, the podcast that helps empower parents in the trenches, find joy in the process, and thrive through it all. I'm Christina Wales, here with my co-host, Dr. Terry Nguyen, Chair of Pediatrics at GBMC Healthcare. So, 'tis the season for illness. Coughs are one of the most prominent symptoms for a variety of illnesses. And I am bringing, the cough to the podcast today because my voice is a little under the weather. So I'm really, playing to the crowd here. But how do we know when it's just a sort of a run-of-the-mill winter cold or when it's something more serious? I know we have a variety of illnesses going on. So how do we know what's what?
Okay. So most of the times the pediatrician is going to tell you, oh, it's another virus. And they're really not lying. I feel this winter we're going to have kind of almost pre-COVID winter, meaning, we started seeing RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, in November, and it's steadily picking up right now in December, and it will stay. It will stay through March, April, okay? But there will be a peak. So when you're the primary virus that's causing most of the disease in the present time, you usually peak out at about 4 to 6 weeks. And then, how quickly that the cases go down vary by season. But that's takes you you're in the peak of it for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you slowly or, very decisively go down. So RSV affects mostly, it can affect anyone, but the children that we're most worried about are the children under a year of age, okay? Because they're small, they're younger. This is an infection that affects your lungs. There's no medication for it, and you just cough. And if you're really small and your lungs are small, you have less reserve. In infants, you can, cough so much that, you're decreasing your capacity to exchange oxygen for carbon dioxide for oxygen. So you're decreasing your ability to oxygenate. There may be so much mucus, and that's one of the big things with RSV is that you cough and you have a very particular cough. I call it a bronchospastic cough. It's as if you can't, get rid of the cough. It's like you cough and you keep going. It's not just a quick dry cough. The quick dry cough of kind of a benign cold is you cough, right?
I tried to do it. It didn't work.
Yeah, the RSV cough is, there's a cough and there's a lot of congestion, but it keeps going. Okay. And then the other hallmark is that every orifice on your body it's pouring out fluid. Okay. So your nose is running, your eyes may be running also. Okay. So in the typical infant or toddler who has RSV, there's that typical cough that I talked about. And really, their nose is just a constant stream of clear fluid the whole time they're with me, okay? How do we know, and you may or may not have a fever. So fevers don't really tell me whether you have a run-of-the-mill virus or you have RSV or something more serious, okay? Fever is just your body's way of fighting an infection. And I always say, that tells me that your immune system is good. It's like there's an invader in the house and we've got to nuke it. We've got to raise our body temperature to kill the germs, whether they're viruses or bacteria, okay? So the common cold will last about 5 to 7 days. If you have a fever with it, it should not last more than 5 days, okay? Anytime there's a fever that's ongoing beyond 5 days, I get suspicious because most viruses are killed off, within that short window, that 5-day window. If there's more to be done from your body and your temperature continues to be elevated, and when I say a fever, I mean 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius, okay? I've many a times had parents come to my office and say, oh, he had a low-grade fever. He was 98, 99. I'm like, 98 is a normal body temperature. 99, yes, it is a little elevated from their norm, but it's not a fever, okay? Even 100, plain old 100 is not a fever. It's 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit. And also tell parents, please take one temperature so you can share with me what it was, but you don't need to do it every 2, 3, 4 hours because you're going to freak yourself out. Most fevers are at their peak at night when the doctor's offices are closed, and it takes about half an hour to an hour for your child's body temperature to go down after you give them a fever-reducing medication such as ibuprofen or acetaminophen. Ibuprofen is Motrin or Advil, and acetaminophen is Tylenol, okay? So I've had many a parent call me right after they give the Tylenol or the Motrin or Advil, and they say, the temperature actually rose. And I said, yeah, because the medicine hasn't had time to take effect yet. It might be 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and I say, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. So please, just ditch that thermometer, okay? Take it once and be done with it. Because then you say, okay, at this level of heat emanating from my child, it's a real fever. Okay, so then I'm going to treat the fever to make them more comfortable. But, there are some people of the belief that you should let that fever go so that literally your body can kill those germs. But your kid feels miserable. None of us are going to sit by and watch our children be miserable, right? So then treat it. Cough that comes with illnesses, whether it's viral or bacterial. Again, the viral stuff usually resolves within 2 to 3 weeks. If the cough has gotten worse or hasn't improved and it's been more than 2 weeks, I think that's a very reasonable time to go see your pediatrician because sometimes things start out as a viral illness, like it may start out as RSV. It's one of the viruses that can cause a cold. But after the cough has lingered and the viruses have kind of settled in, the bacteria can come in because we have millions of bacteria in our body, right? They can come in and then cause a super infection on top of it, okay? So when I saw your child last week at the beginning of their cold, it really was a cold, okay? But 2 weeks after they started that cough, they're still coughing pretty hard. It's waking them up at night, and they're coughing so much they're not able to go to school. Yeah, you should bring them in, okay? And I just said 2 weeks, but, even if after a week of the illness and your child is not sleeping at all, struggling to breathe, you should bring him or her in to the pediatrician, okay?
So maybe that, when we can keep going on the other, but when should we bring them in?
Yeah.
Like if it's just a cough, we can kind of let it go until when?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, if it's not disrupting their life, right? Meaning they're not up all night coughing. They're coughing so much they can't go to school or talk in full sentences.
There's no other symptoms associated with it.
Yeah. Okay. And then if there's a fever, I always say, pod the panic. No panic, please. If it goes down with the acetaminophen or the ibuprofen, great. And they may have spurts of energy throughout the day. Okay, those kids are fine. It's the ones that even when you took down their temperature, they're still lying in bed, can't get themselves out. They aren't eating. They aren't interacting. Or they're really not peeing, okay? So we want a minimum of 3 urines in an infant in a day and in your school-age child. I mean, they should pee more than that, but that's an absolute minimum is 3 times. And if I'm hearing there was 1 pee in 24 hours, I want to see your child because your child is dehydrated and there may be more going on. But I'm going to tell you that a cough all by itself without any struggle to breathe or a fever without any struggle to breathe, okay, does not warrant an emergency room visit, nor an urgent care visit at night, okay? So is there a height of a temperature? I tell parents no. 105. Actually, viruses cause higher temperatures than bacterial infections, okay? But it's not the height of the fever. It's how your child is behaving. Now, the exception to this is if you have an infant who's under 2 months of age. If they have 100.4 or higher, you're going to need to be seen, even if your doctor's office is closed. And that's because they can have other disease processes that can make them sick and make them sick very quickly. But that's the under 2 months of age infant. That's the only extra category, okay? Or, of course, if your child has a chronic condition and they are receiving treatment for cancer, okay? I'm talking about the regular child without any baggage with chronic conditions, okay? So there's no height of fever that makes me want to rush you off to the emergency room. You're not going to get febrile seizures because you have a high fever. You have seizures with fevers because your body temperature is going up really quickly and your hypothalamus in your brain cannot regulate, okay? And that's when you get seizures, okay? So there's almost nothing you can do, okay? It's just how quickly your temperature goes up and the center of your brain that regulates the temperature, wasn't quick enough to do the self-regulation there, okay? And cough, okay? So coughs that are persistent for more than 2 weeks, coughs where you're struggling to breathe, and by that I mean the child is sitting straight up and they're like struggling and you can see their Adam's apple going in. And if they're talking, they cannot talk in complete sentences, okay? Or if they're younger or if they're struggling to breathe, the Adam's apple's going in, their nares may be flaring, their ribs may be going in and out. They're unable to sleep because they can't get comfortable with sleeping because they're spending all of their energy to breathe, okay? Yeah. You should go seek medical attention at night for that, okay? But otherwise, it's not that they're coughing. It's what's their work of breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I think we covered coughs. Like I said, it's, with a variety of illnesses, it's pretty much a consistent symptom with all of them. So sometimes it can be hard to tell, but I think we outlined pretty well what constitutes, a productive cough versus something that requires more attention. So,
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks.
And the key takeaways are fever for more than 5 days, cough for more than 2 weeks.
Got it.
Okay. All the other stuff without struggling to breathe, difficulty breathing, hold off until your pediatrician's office is open in the morning.
Okay.
And how we can help, we have 2 viral illnesses that we have vaccines for, and that's the flu vaccine, the seasonal influenza vaccine, and the COVID vaccine, right? Right now, flu hasn't really taken off yet, but I think within a few weeks, flu will be increasing. COVID is pretty dormant right now, and people may say, I don't know why I need to, vaccinate my child for COVID if it's just a cold nowadays. And my response to that is, I'm not vaccinating your child to prevent the cold that they're going to get from COVID. We are vaccinating for COVID because we have data that shows that there is a 50% risk reduction in long COVID if you are vaccinated for COVID. And long COVID happens in children just like it does in adults. And by that I mean there's chronic fatigue and there's chronic brain fog. Neither one do we want for our children.
Yeah.
So that's a reason to vaccinate with the most recent strains for COVID. It's to help reduce the risk of long-term COVID in your child.
Got it.
Not because you care all that much about a cold.
Yeah.
But the flu, can take you out for a good 7 to 10 days. So if it takes your child out for 7 to 10 days, it's taking you out of work for 7 to 10 days.
And then probably another 7 to 10 days while I go through flu because I was with my kid who had the flu.
Exactly. So it takes 2 weeks for us to build antibodies for whatever vaccines we receive. So if you haven't done it for the flu vaccine, please do it now. And if you haven't done it for COVID because you were thinking, I don't care about the cold, my reason is that you want to decrease the risk of long-term COVID. Okay?
All right. Well, thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay, will do. Thanks.
Bye.